Let's bring in the host of Power Play, Evan Solomon, who's standing by in the Capitol. He's been following the story very closely today. Evan, what do you make of what we're seeing here?
Well, movement on the Canadian front and some really startling admissions on the president's front. Let's start with Canada. Was it a prudent move to move Canadians into a safer ground, away from some of the mission, Operation Impact, the NATO mission, and then, of course, the second mission with the Special Forces into Kuwait? It's an admission that there must have been, Todd, a real concern about their safety to move to a safer place like Kuwait. We don't know the nature of the threat. We don't know why they were moved. We don't know how long they'll stay in Kuwait. So the details are very fuzzy. We've heard absolutely nothing from the Prime Minister, who's been busy making calls saying that they're trying to de-escalate the situation. But all we know is Canadians from yesterday, when I spoke to the Minister of Defense, who said, I'd like the NATO mission and the Canadians mission to continue, even though the Iraqis have voted to boot the U.S. out. The U.S. is going nowhere. Canada now suddenly moves their troops. So what has changed was the threat level changed. The president then made a pretty startling admission. He was asked, how long did you deliberate on the assassination/killing of Soleimani? He said it would not be weeks, it would be days, which is fascinating because the Minister of Defense admitted to us yesterday on Power Play that the Canadians did not know the details of that strike. They were literally kept in the dark. And now the question for the president is what comes next. They say they don't want to start a war, but the question is when, not if, Iran retaliates. And we haven't seen that yet. So, as you say, we're just on the razor's edge here.
And, Evan, what do you make of sort of the fact that Canada and the British, the French, the Germans, I mean, many key allies of the United States are sort of squeezed here, trying to, brace for impact, make sense of what the U.S. is doing, and dealing with a very, as always, impulsive president?
You know, Todd, this is where there's two sides to this. No ally of the United States is going to mourn the loss of a mass murderer/terrorist like Soleimani. He is as bad a guy as there was. His record is hip deep in blood. It's horrible, okay? By the same token, once you assassinate a powerful, or maybe the second most powerful person in Iran, what are the strategic implications? The U.S. left their allies in the dark. We don't know what their final goal is. We don't know whether this is a deterrence or it will lead to wider conflict through Iranian proxies. And I think all the allies are saying, wait, we're not sure we have all the cards to play with. We're not sure we know what the United States is up to, and we don't know where this is going. So, there's two things going on. There's a willingness to stand up against Iran, but there's an uneasiness and a distrust among the alliances where our men and women, like Canadian men and women, are literally in harm's way there. So I think there's a lot of sense, and we've said this for a long time under Donald Trump, the NATO alliance is an uneasy alliance at best right now.
There's something else I'm curious about. The president said, Evan, as you were listening in, one of the reporters said, are you prepared for what might be to come? And we're going to show our viewers a map of where the U.S. troops are. And as you know, there's more than 40,000 U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia and in Kuwait and really all over Bahrain and Jordan and, of course, as well in the UAE and Qatar. You can't protect 41,000 different personnel and more, of course, from any sort of asymmetrical attack we might see from the Iranians, if they actually choose to do that.
Yeah, look, some of those places are going to be very tough to attack. I've been to the American military base in Bahrain, in the capital city of Manama, which is on the Gulf. And Todd, when you go there, there's 35,000 Americans there. There's a Harley-Davidson dealership. It's a hardened base that is the base of the Fifth Fleet there. The Canadians, we have frigates. Like when I was there, the Charlottetown was escorting aircraft carriers there. So, that's a hard target. So, those aren't the places that may be the targets. It's asymmetrical attacks is not just on military, it's on civilians, it's on tourists, it's on American tourists, it's on American people who are working there, or not just Americans, Canadians or the NATO allies. So the hardened military targets are probably the places that are safest, which is why the Canadians have been moved to places like Kuwait. It's the tens of thousands of other NATO alliance people who are in the region and regions that are the worry. And remember, proxy groups like Hezbollah, supported by Iran and Soleimani's and the Quds organization, they have the ability to strike anywhere at multiple targets. And as you say, they only have to be successful once. The defense has to be successful 100% of the time, which is why it's so difficult.
Yeah, great point. Always great to talk to you, Evan, and thank you for the context and the background. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Todd.